Back again for 2023, it's the Ford Mustang Mach E. Now the one in behind me here is the premium E all-wheel drive, and it's in the brand new carbonized gray that was introduced for the 2023 model year. Steve here, and before I get started, I do want to thank Formula Ford for giving me access to this thing to shoot the video for you today. Check down in the description below for their contact details, and if you're after a Ford, Lincoln, you want to order a Mach E, you definitely want to check them out. You can find their contact info, like I said, in the description. You can also find the build link for this vehicle and a number of other videos that I've done for the Mach E. This is the Mach E, and it's the premium E all-wheel drive. So when we look at 22 versus 23, there are some small changes and then a few bigger changes. So Ford announced that there was a little bit of a price increase. It's actually kind of substantial, but then they backtracked on that a tiny little bit when Tesla also brought their prices down. One cool thing though is that these things, depending on how you have it configured, they might also be eligible for the rebates available through both Canada and the US federal governments. Performance is still there, and the styling, it's still as beautiful as the day that it came out. Like, I love it. We've got our Mach-E badge along the bottom side door on both the driver passenger side. And then we've got some pretty good options for the wheel choice. So in the Select, we're looking at 18-inch. We've got 19-inch in the Premium, and then we can go up to 20-inch wheels. Again, just depending on the version of the vehicle that you're in. But I love the blacked out look here. It's just always something that's really jumped out at me with our pony right in the very middle of the wheel. There are some different rubber choices, so tire choices inside of this. Like when we get inside of the GT and the GT Performance Edition, we're gonna have some Pirelli tires inside of this instead, which, I mean, you definitely need when you look at those higher performance vehicles. This still is pretty respectable though, but very similar to last year. We've got our charge door just on the outside there, so just open up. We've got our little horsepower, so our little pony along the outside, the side door there. And then we've got all of our necessary connectors there. This thing does have a 20-foot cable that's included from the factory, and that's for 120 or 240 charging. So you've got that flexibility. But one great thing is that through the Sync4 Media Screen, we've got the flexibility to set charge locations and charge times. So let's say, electricity rates, you want to charge overnight, you've got that flexibility. So you can have this thing charge up at certain times of the day and even at certain locations. So if you're taking it into work, you plug in, you can set a location for that work location that it's going to charge up maybe between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and then it just shuts her down automatically. So if you've got multiple places you're charging this up, you can select what times we're charging up, which is kind of cool. Series of different charge times that are available inside of this. And then even when you look at the range, it's going to depend on how you have this thing configured. Like, did you go for rear wheel drive versus all wheel drive? Are you going to be in the 70 kilowatt or the 91 kilowatt hour? Which version of the vehicle are you in? Are you in the premium or are you in the GT Performance Edition? The numbers are literally all over the place inside of this thing. But if you want like a good balance, the Select, the 70 kilowatt hour is good if you're just going like office and things like that. If you are going to be going on some longer distance trips, getting the longer, so the extended range, rear wheel drive is your best bet, but all wheel drive, definitely useful for our Canadian winters because like slip sliding is definitely a thing when you get into rear wheel drive. I mean, I love the Premium. The Select is good as an option, and the Select is actually slightly different this year as well. We don't have the comfort technology packages that we had in the 2022 model. And on top of that, the Select, the Blue Cruise feature is only a 90-day trial now instead. So if you want to unlock the feature, you've got to pay to unlock it, versus in the Premium, Blue Cruise is just included there. We've got our front sensing system. We also do have our blacked out pony right in the very middle here. And just above that, there is the front-facing camera. So this thing has the front-facing camera, side view-mounted cameras, and the backup camera for the full 360 view. So it is nice. And then even the bumper. So lower part is good, but when we get into that GT Performance Edition, it's gonna look slightly more aggressive. Still pretty nice though. We've got our LED headlamps there, and we aren't gonna have any fogs inside of this thing whatsoever. The frunk inside of this thing, on hydraulics, which is fantastic. We've got our windshield wiper fluid off to the right side, and that's really it. Like, obviously you want to get your brakes and your tires checked out and a few other electronic components, but there's not as much maintenance that's required inside of electrics. But having said that, you still have to maintain your vehicle. So it doesn't matter if you're in an electric or in a gas vehicle, just make sure you're taking it in for regularly scheduled maintenance. But back to the frunk. The spacing inside of this thing is actually kind of nice. We've got a little drain there, just if you're using this for tailgating, parties, ice, whatever the case may be. We've got a light on the inside, and then we've also got a little release, just in case somebody gets stuck on the inside there. We've got our little pony right along the very top as well. But it's nice and it's simple underneath the frunk here, and I mean, plenty of space if you need it. Towards the back end of the Mach-E, we've got sequential turn lights, which look pretty cool. We've got our blacked out pony in the back here, backup camera, rear wiper, and then the reverse sensing system. One thing, we don't have the option for the foot activated liftgate anymore, so that's just not available in the Mach-E, unfortunately. But we still do have a powered liftgate, so we can use our key fob if we wanted to. And then just in the very bottom here, we also have a button to be able to lift it up. But let's have a quick peek at the cargo dimensions. A few small things to point out. You might be able to make out along the very top here, we do have this cargo shade. We could technically easily remove it. There are little pieces right up along the very top. We just click those out of place, so very straightforward. Now, by default, the Mach-E is just going to have a regular carpeted back, but we do have the option of getting a thermoplastic rubber tray for the back cargo area, but then also for the first and for the second row. So if you're worried about things getting a little bit messy, you want to keep things a little bit cleaner, and these things are way easier to clean than regular carpet mats anyways. You can get these done right at time of ordering from the factory, get your dealer to add them on, or you can go aftermarket. WeatherTech has some pretty cool options that are available, different colors and things like that. But this is nice. Now, let's get these out of the way. So we've got, like I said, just our regular carpeted area back here. Things to point out, along the left side, there's nothing really there at all. Along the right side, we've got our little Mustang badge, and then there's also a 12-volt power point back here. There is a subwoofer back here as well, because this one has the upgraded 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, because we're in the premium version of the vehicle. You could probably also make it out. We do have our top tether points there. So if you've got child seats, not gonna have an issue. We do have this tray. We've got our inflator kit, and then we also do have our charge cable back here. So like I mentioned, it's a 20-foot charge cable that comes from the factory. So we can do either 120 or 240 charging. I mean, folding the second row seats down, also super straightforward. So just on the inside here, got a little release, and down it goes. But I mean, look at how much that opens things up when we've got that first and second row folded down. So if you need some added space, it is nice. And that's just not something you're gonna get inside of the regular Mustang. And like even sitting into the second row of the Mustang, like the regular one, it's not gonna happen. But we've got a ton of space inside of the electric version of the vehicle, which is great. And we don't have the option for a spare tire in this thing whatsoever. But you do have forward roadside assistance. So that's good for the life of the powertrain warranty for the vehicle. So good to know, because if something happens, you break down, need to change a tire, whatever the case may be, just call that 1-800 number, and it's tied to the vehicle, not to the driver. The interior of the Mach-E is beautiful. When I first saw this thing on launch, I was like drooling a little bit for a few reasons. Like just the way that this thing's laid out is great, but the second row space inside of this actually has functional space for a Mustang, but we'll get to that one in just a second. So there are some key highlights on the outside as we get in. As always, typical Ford styling, we've got that 5-digit pad, so we could enter that in order to be able to get inside of the vehicle. But the inside here it's really nice. Now, the way that this thing looks, it's gonna be slightly different depending on the version of the vehicle that you're in, because you get into like the Mach-E GT Performance Edition, and the seats are it's like a sport performance seat instead. So what type of seat you get is going to depend on what version of the vehicle you're in, but we are going to be Active X seating material, regardless of if we're in the Select or the fully loaded GT Performance Edition. Different color choices that are available on the inside here, but like ebony is probably what you're going to see in the majority of it. The lighter one does look kind of nice though. But let's go through some highlights. So we've got great looking stitching that follows all the way throughout the door and the dash and the lower part across. And that stitching follows all the way throughout the seats, the center stack here, and wraps around. It's slightly darker throughout the steering wheel, but the door itself, there are a series of different buttons that are available. So we do have the option for seat memory with 3 individual profiles. So we can set up our seats and our side view mirrors, and then we would just press and hold either 1, 2, or 3 if we want to set up our own unique profile. And then even through the media screen here, we can set up a more unique profile for us as well, which is kind of cool. But series of other buttons along our door. We've got power folding side view mirrors. There's a button that we can push in order to kill power to the back windows, but it also acts as the safety child lock. It's funny, I was doing a video on the Mach-E GT and I got myself locked in the second row of the car because this thing was turned on. I didn't even realize it. Super embarrassing, but I did put that in a video. You can check out in the description of the video here. But we've got our basic window control buttons and then our latch to be able to open the door up. Now this one does have the upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system, so it's a 10 speaker system. Sounds good, but we'll get to the audio test in just a second. We've got some bottle holders along the door for the first row and technically for that second row as well. But like I said, it's just the small highlights inside of this car are what really make it pop. Because we look at the dash and like the speaker cover for that door, it follows through, and we've got that same material that follows all the way throughout the dash. We've got this like faux carbon fiber. It's like a weave texture on a part of the dash there too. It looks really, really nice. It's well put together. But we've got a series of different buttons right by our left knee. So max windshield defroster, figure out what's going on with our running lamps. As always, I just recommend to keep it in the auto setting. We can also adjust what's going on with the brightness of the cluster screen and the Sync4 Media Screen. And then we've got a button for traction control. Now, if you're looking for walkthroughs, like you want to know how to use the steering wheel buttons, go through that mini cluster screen, you want to know what's going on with the Sync4 Media Screen, check down in the description of the video. I've put together some pretty comprehensive videos. But some highlights, stick on the left side is going to be for our high beams and for our turning signals. On the right side is going to be for our front and for our rear windshield wipers. So our rear wiper, there's a little button right on the tip of that stick. Along the left-hand side, we've got buttons for our adaptive cruise control system, and that's our set it and forget it cruise. So you set it at 100 kilometers an hour on the highway, car in front of you slows down, yours is automatically going to brake. But if they pick up speed, change lanes, get out of the way, it's going to pick you right back up to your set speed again. It's a really, really smart system. And we can also turn our lane keeping system on by pushing the button on the side there as well. So it's got little lane markings. Now we do have the option for Ford's Blue Cruise system. So inside of the select version of the vehicle, that's a 90-day subscription that you get, but it's included in the premium and above. And the Blue Cruise feature, this essentially it's hands-free driving. Like, it's amazing. And what happens is we've got cameras that are going to watch our eyes. So you can't be sleeping, you can't be reading, whatever the case may be. You have to be focused on the road, ready to grab the wheel in case something happens. So it's a great safety setting, but it's also a brilliant system all at the same time. Like, I love it. You can't use it on every road. Certain 400 series highways in Canada, different interstates throughout the states, but there are different roads that we can use it on. But you can use the adaptive cruise control system on highways or just regular city streets as well. Pad on the right-hand side lets us change between songs, radio stations, answer or hang up on a phone call. We've also got a voice command prompt, so we can do things like change songs, radio stations. We can navigate using our voice. I love the blacked out pony. Oh, it looks so good. That's the same blacked out pony we're going to find in the front and the back of the vehicle. It pops. I love it. We've got all these small black highlights all throughout the steering wheel on top of that. It just looks nice. It's good. And then typical Mustang styling, the steering wheel inside of it is going to be a manual telescoping. So it doesn't matter if we're in the Select or the GT, manual telescoping just by our left knee. Shooting over, obviously going to be push button start inside of this thing. Some basic highlights of the new Sync4 Media Screen. We've got some buttons along the very top. So we've got some graphical upgrades there, as you can see. So we've got our home icon, settings icon down there. And as always, we've got our time, and then we've also got what's currently going on with our profile. So we can set up multiple profiles. So if we want to, we can add in different profiles and link the seats, link photos, key fobs, and link phones and things like that for a number of different drivers. We've got what station's currently playing. We've got preset rows, so we can easily adjust this thing out. Change between AM, FM, Sirius XM very easily there. If we wanted to save in a preset, we just take whatever section we want to overwrite, press and hold, preset saved. That's simple. And moving down, actually, let's start from the top. So home, we've got radio, phone, navigation. So we've got our factory nav inside of this thing. And the factory navigation, as you can see, they're super responsive, which is great. We can flip out if we want to, easily as you saw there, in, out, circle us back in, change out the view, easily search for addresses. So address search, we've got a few options. We could enter in a physical address, we can enter in GPS coordinates on top of that. We've got some settings along the very bottom side, so we can see parking, where am I, weather, tools, different settings for our navigation on top of that. Back home, we've got media, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. We can see what's going on with charging. And this is really cool because we've got our history, departure, and comfort. Very useful if we want to be able to precondition the cabin. So we can select certain days if we want to. Like let's say if we typically leave at like 9 o'clock, we want things nice and cool. So you can say, 9 o'clock a.m. We've got that available as an option. We can clear everything if we want to, and we can set up different days and times for different things. We've also got our charging locations. So as we charge up, we do have the flexibility of having it remember all of our locations. We select one of these, we hit next, and then from there we've got weekday versus weekend, and then we can have it charge specific times. So charge any time if we want to, or we can have it charge at specific times instead. So as you can see here, AM, PM, when are we charging, we save from there. So it is kind of cool. We've got that flexibility to be able to enter in different charge times and locations. Back home, we've got our tire pressure, trip energy, and this is kind of a unique one. This is where we're going to go for like our trip 1 and our trip 2 counter. We can see what's going on with how much climate we're using, driving, etc., for how much battery is used for each option. We can reset along the very top. We can do a hot button press to get into any of the other options that we've already selected. Back home again. We've also got, missed that one. We've also got our digital owner's manual. And then as you saw there, a little sketch pad. So if we want to, we've got the flexibility of sketching some things out. And then we can jump into our entertainment instead. Now, one cool thing is that with the entertainment, if we're in drive, watch this. So I'm in park right now, but I'm going to flip out to drive and watch what happens. Entertainment is disabled. So we can't press that button again until we go back into park. So it's a great safety setting there. So it's essentially meaning that we can't use any of these games or anything unless we're parked. So I just think it's a great safety setting. I would like to see Netflix and a few other programs right in the screen as well. I mean, it would be kind of nice, but I mean, is what it is. We've got some pretty good options here as a default. Moving up, we've also got a series of different settings. So we've got some basic controls. So whisper, engage, unbridled. So it's going to unlock different performance as we go. We can also toggle on our one pedal drive. And with that toggled on, what that means is that we really only have to worry about the accelerator. So as we take our foot off the accelerator, it's going to slow us down very rapidly. We've got a propulsion sound that plays on the outside, auto hold setting. We've got our 360 camera there. So you can see we've got our 360 view. We can zoom into certain sides if we want to, exit out of it. Or, I mean, if we're hot back in, we can even go to a front view, front partial or a front 180-degree view to see what's going on all the way around us. Or just back to our 360 view again. When we're in reverse, you can see we've also got our lines there. So as we rotate the wheel, it's also going to, it very, very lightly move that for us. But again, just a nice safety setting. We've got a calming screen, so if you find it to be a bit too much, go calming or bring it back to life again. From here, we've got sounds, phone list, we've got a boatload of driver assistance settings, so things like reverse brake assist. We've got our blind spot system. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, that's going to highlight in order to let us know. We've got vehicle settings, general settings, valet modes, and a bunch of other things. Like I said, if you want a fuller walkthrough on this system, find it down in the description of the video. Moving down, we've also got our climate control settings, and this is different for this Sync4 update. It's kind of neat, but I mean, if we look, this used to be like a little switch that we can go drag up and down, but now it's all controlled right through this, which is kind of neat. And that's even like as we go, driver, passenger side. Baby cradle. Kind of neat. We click through in order to turn our audio on, off. Still has that little animation. It's just this little clickable animation that's slightly different than before, which is kind of cool. This is still going to be the same. So whether we want the AC going to our windshield face feet, Do we want to have our max AC, air circulation, turn the system off? And moving down from there, so we've got our heated seat buttons. Same idea, we can adjust which level it's on that way if we want. We can also do a button press there to do it that way, or have it in the auto setting instead. We've also got our heat button there, figure out what's going on with, how fast or slow this is going, max windshield defroster, rear window defroster, and then for our passenger seat, whether or not that's a heated seat on or off. Little alter bridge, silver tongue, good song, good band, and the audio inside of this. So that was just at half. Okay, hold on, here we go. I love the song, I love the band. Oh, but the sound inside of this. Like I said, this is the upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system. So the 10 speaker system, it's really, really good. Moving down, we do have 2 USB ports, so regular USB-A and then a Type-C. Wireless charge pad is there, so if you've got a phone that supports wireless charging, top it up, drop it off on that pad, and you're good to go. Just underneath, we do have a little storage tray as well, and that also has a little thing that's fully removable, so if we ever need to clean it now, since things have gotten messy, we've got a few cup holders there, and then shooting down, we've got our park button there. So as of right now, it's funny, I think it was mid last year, so mid 2022, Ford got rid of Park Assist and they changed it to the Active Prep Kit, which essentially means the wiring and everything was there so you could get Active Park Assist at a later time. But it looks like Park Assist is just not going to be available because we don't have the flexibility of ordering the Prep Kit anymore. So late 2022 models, all 23s, essentially you're not going to get Park Assist inside of this thing at all. Yeah, I'm kind of torn on that one because realistically, like the big benefit is if you had mobility issues. So it was hard for you to turn left, right, whatever the case may be. It made it easier for parallel perpendicular parking. It's just not going to be available in the Mach-E anymore. But we've got our 4-way blinker button, electronic parking brake, and then we've got our rotary shifter to change between park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then our low gear. Little armrest here on top of that. And then when we slide the armrest open, we've got a 12-volt power point and a decent amount of storage space there too. Shooting up overhead, there is an auto-dimming rear view mirror, and there's no way to turn that one off. That's, I think, a feature would be kind of cool to be able to adjust whether the auto-dimming function is happening or not. But it's just beneficial because if lights are blinding us behind us, it's automatically going to dim for us, which is kind of cool. Overhead, we've got some basic controls for our cabin lights, typical Ford styling with our sunglasses holder. And then we've got our visor with a little business card holder, home link system. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, you can easily program it in. From there, we've also got a business card holder on the inside, vanity mirror with a built-in light. And then this thing extends out to block all of the sun that might be hitting our face, which is great. We've also got our assist handle there as well for the driver passenger side for the first and for the second row. And then another thing, we've got our full panoramic roof, and like it's a fixed glass roof, so we don't have the flexibility of sliding this thing open, closed, whatever the case may be, but it just opens things up so nicely. Oh, I love it. I like the seat comfort. Oh, it's so good. Like I've got so much headspace inside of this thing. So on the far side here, I'm like sitting at like 4.5, almost 5 inches of headspace with the seat all the way down. So with the seat up, the way that I would normally sit, I still have a boatload of space here. And we've got power adjustable seats. So we've got forwards, backwards, up and down that are all power. Same thing with our backrest. Lumbar support is going to be 2-way. And then our headrest. So we do have a 4-way adjustable headrest. So we can adjust it forwards as necessary and then up and down on top of that. So it is nice. And like I said, the seat, super comfortable inside of this thing. I like it. But you said like one big thing is that with the Mach-E, we actually have a functional second row in comparison to the regular gas version of the Mustang. So let's hop into that second row and see what's going on space-wise. The second row for the Mustang Mach-E, I absolutely love. And it's because it's a functional back seat. You can actually get people in the second row of this thing, which, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But I mean, that's just something in the regular Mustang, it's not going to happen. And I mean, even looking like this middle seat, it's a little tight. Like, I mean, with the driver's seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall, like I still have a decent amount of space here. But 3 full-size versions of me, it'll be a little bit tight for people. But if you've got smaller friends, young family, whatever the case may be, tons of space back here. And like we do have all of our anchor points and tethers and things like that. So front-facing, rear-facing child seats are possible inside of this thing. But a lot of the same highlights that we saw in the first row follow through to the second row along the door. And we've got that nice material along the speaker there. It looks so sharp. So sharp. I like it. We've got bottle holders along the driver passenger side. We've even got pockets back here. So behind the first and the second row seats, we've got pockets that are available. Moving down, we also have 2 USB power points. So there's a USB and then a USB Type-C. So power points all over the place here on top of that, which is great. Now, a few other small things. Both the driver passenger side, we also have some assist handles here. So similar to what we saw in the first row, but we've got some clothing hooks on both sides. And then we also have little lights back there too. So it is kind of cool. Now the seats, like I said, middle seat is good. The outboard seats though are super comfortable. Oh yeah. Both sides, driver passenger side, really comfortable, which is great. Now they are locked into place, so there's no way that we're going to be able to recline these things at all. One thing we do have, little armrest. If you've got kids fighting, just drop this down. We've got some cup holders in there. But outside of that, like this thing is nice, it's simple, it's basic in the second row. One thing that's missing that I think should probably be back here, heated second row seats. Like at a minimum, I think they should definitely be back here. But it's unfortunately not available inside of the 23 Mach-E. We are strictly looking at just regular seats, not heated, not ventilated. But still, like the overall styling here is great, and it still is nice that that first row, we know, do have those heated seats available as an option for when things get a little bit chilly, as things start to cool down and wind picks up like crazy outside right now. But so this thing overall is fairly nice and like super spacious. Like even looking at the headspace, so middle seat headspace, with me sitting fully upright, I've got, it's tight, but like maybe an inch-ish roughly of headspace, inch and change of headspace there. So I've got space, which is great. Inside of the outboard seats, it's just, actually I lose a tiny little bit of space. So I'm about a little over half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of headspace there. So 6 feet tall, take that into account. So like 6'2", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit back here. Any taller and you're gonna have to like slouch a little bit in order to be able to make the seat comfy for you. But that was a look at the 2023 Mustang Mach-E. What'd you think? I love the features, functionality inside of this. Range is pretty good inside of the vehicle, and the styling is fantastic. I do like that new Sync4 upgrade too. But if you have any questions, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. More than willing to talk you through any issues that you might be having. But if you found this one useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care.